Alpha.
I'm going to go through quickly just to recap how I've structured my photography business. Something that I think is very, very important is, for me personally, is brand separation. I have done this specifically for my business so that I can market two different companies, one specifically for weddings and events, my company called Reverie, and my other company is called Lux and Mode, and we specialize in commercial photography, including corporates, events, and I do digital marketing as well on that brand. The reason I've done that specifically is so that I can brand separate as well as possible. Also, my clients specifically want someone who does weddings. So my brides specifically want a photographer who shoots weddings, and my corporate clients, my commercial clients want a photographer who shoots specifically corporate and commercial work. It's something that I find very, very important. That brand separation allows me to market my businesses very differently, and I really do enjoy doing that. So you guys are welcome to go and follow me on both of those accounts, at Reverie and at Lux and Mode. And I'm going to jump straight into the webinar today, guys. First things first, your target market isn't looking at everyone. It's an important question. It's a big one. Think about that. What does your ideal client want? What do they want when they're thinking about their wedding photography? They want a specific type of photographer, someone who shoots a specific way, someone who handles themselves a specific way, and your target market isn't looking at everyone. They might get a bunch of different quotes from a lot of different people, but at the end of the day, they're going to narrow it down to people that they like. I know what kind of client I like to work with in terms of my wedding work, so I really kind of focus on making sure that I'm marketing myself to that specific client. Consider that for you. Whether your client is the kind of person who wants those kind of jumping in the air photos, or if they want the ones with the umbrellas or the balloons, and personally that's not for me. But I think that it's important to kind of recognize who you want as your client, and you can kind of tailor your work and tailor your marketing to that specific person. So just to jump back in terms of brand separation, clients prefer a photographer to specialize. That's just in my experience. And by specializing in a specific type, weddings, commercials, food photography, whatever it may be, you're able to really do what you love and do it in a lot of different businesses. It can be a bit more expensive to run when you're running two websites. You have to market twice as hard, but that's just something I like to do. I love shooting commercial work and working with corporate clients, and I love doing weddings as well. I find it a lot of fun, so I've split mine up, and it's formed a very important part of my marketing and branding process. Just a few things that I do as well. I also host creative workshops in partnership with Sony and private ones as well. Wedding workshops, fashion workshops, you name it, I've probably hosted something similar. So you can keep in touch. Go to the Sony MEA website. We will always post all the workshops up onto that website, so keep an eye out on the page. You can go follow at Sony Alpha SA as well to see and stay in touch with all of our updates and news. We'll do workshops as soon as the lockdown is over. Probably a month from then we'll start scheduling workshops and getting going again. But we're going to be doing a lot of these kind of live streams and a lot of recorded videos as well. So we really want to kind of engage with the community, and that's something that I love to do as well. I do business coaching for creatives, all sorts of creatives, graphic designers, web designers, and photographers, and I also do one-on-one mentoring sessions. So if there's anything in here that you want a little bit more information, you're welcome to get in touch with me and we can schedule a one-on-one session. So jumping into the rest, how to separate yourself from the pack. There's a couple different points that I'm going to run through here, guys. Brand identity, obviously, photographic style, your pricing, your service delivery, your marketing efforts. I've included marketing efforts into this specific part because the way you market also affects how your brand is perceived by the public, by other people, by other brides, and by potential clients. I'm going to run through specifically brand identity now. Obviously, I don't think I need to explain this, but a logo is an important part of a brand identity. Everyone needs to have a logo. Really trying to get your logo to reflect what your brand is trying to put across. You'll notice brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, the high-end fashion brands have a specific style of logo that they're trying to go for, which kind of exudes a specific feeling and a specific type of luxury. if you look at a Louis Vuitton bag, a Louis Vuitton logo, you know that it's going to be a high-end product because they've associated their logo with a higher-end overall quality product and a overall brand. So think about your logo. That's a huge part. Speak to a graphic designer if you really struggle with logo design. It's really nice to get some ideas from a graphic designer as well. I specifically just did a rebranding recently, and I did a full rebranding of my website and my business and my logo. I actually worked with a graphic designer one-on-one to redesign my logo. And although I didn't choose their specific final concept, their final logo that they designed, I kind of modified it slightly. I've done a bit of graphic design in my life as well. But they gave me some really nice ideas, really good options in terms of the logo. So think about that. If you want, go speak to a graphic designer. You're welcome to DM me. I know someone who helped me specifically who I can recommend to you. She's brilliant, so happy to do that as well. Brand identity also factors in your documentation. So that means your pricing presentation, your contract and other documents that you might have, price lists, anything like that. How are you packaging, how are you presenting your pricing information? If you're going to have something that's very short-winded, kind of like a 2-page pricing document with your prices, and that's it. That's not going to really kind of get the right message across, especially if you're trying to encourage people to understand that you are valuable, that your work is valuable, and that you as a person or as a brand are valuable. Having a 2-page document doesn't really explain too much to your potential clients. I know for example, with my packaging document for my pricing, I have about a 20-page document. I think it's about 15 to 18 pages. So it's quite comprehensive, it's quite intense, but I run through a lot of information there with my clients. I explain to them what they're paying for, what they're getting that's different. Don't go and make a 1 to 2 page document. I promise you it's not going to be it's not going to convert as many clients as possible. And if you want to charge a lot of money with your wedding photography, consider actually giving your clients a reason to pay for you. That goes the same for your contract. How are you presenting your contract? Is it efficient? Is it is it a beautiful looking contract with lovely fonts? It's well designed. Think about all of those things. Your other documents matter as well. Your website is obviously a massively important one. How are you presenting yourself online? Think about usability. This is something that I think is incredibly important. The usability of your site. How quickly do your images load? How fast can people access the information that they need to? How hard is it to contact you on your page? Do you have email addresses, contact forms on your home page? Is the contact form really easy to find? All of those things really matter. How does your website look and how does your website function? Also think about what you're putting on your website. Think about the amount of photography you have on there. Try and limit the amount of images you have to stuff that's really important. The stuff that you kind of want to put up to convey your brand. Don't really go crazy and put 3,000 images on your homepage, or I'm exaggerating, but say 100 images on your wedding portfolio page. That might be a bit much. Remember, the key here is to put enough information on your website so that they can see, that your potential clients can see what they like and get in touch with you. Your website is a lead generation tool. It's not something that you're using just to show off your work for absolutely no point. I don't know if that really makes sense to anyone, but I use my website as a lead generation tool. It's there to get me inquiries. It's not there to just show off my work to other photographers or random people that follow me. So really consider how your website is coming across to your clients. Add some interesting stuff on there. Add some videos, some interesting photos. Add a bit of a bio, behind the scenes shots as well, and create some excitement around your brand on your website. It's obviously very important. I'm assuming I'm going to get lots and lots of questions here about what website I'm using, what website builder I'm using. So I'm just going to answer that now quickly. I'm using Squarespace to build my site. I really like Squarespace. It's really quick and easy. It's drag and drop, but you can also customize CSS as well. I like it. It might not be for you, so try out everything. Squarespace also lets you do a lot of SEO work as well, so you can optimize your website for search engines as well on Squarespace. So it works well for me. I can blog on Squarespace as well, so really kind of have a look around there and find something that works for you. Jumping onto the next thing, obviously your social media presence. I'm not sure that really needs to be said, but social media now, if you're not on social media, your business is pretty much dead. Your social media presence is a huge representation of your brand image. How regularly are you posting? How transparent are you on a wedding day? Are you posting some behind the scenes? Think about different ways that you can enhance your social media presence. Think about interesting things that you can put up on social media, Put some videos up there as well. Be transparent with your clients. Now, especially more than ever, you should be posting stuff that's kind of connecting with your clients. I know a lot of people, a lot of photographers now, a lot of wedding photographers now have taken a bit of a hit with their business. I can speak from experience here. And I've had to postpone a lot of weddings due to the lockdowns and travel restrictions. So, be a little bit more transparent with your clients and on your social media, post some behind the scenes stuff, post some stuff that's actually a bit vulnerable. Your brand is something that you need to really put out there, and social media makes it very, very easy for us to do that nowadays. In terms of your brand identity as well, we also have albums and physical products. What are your albums speaking about your brand? If you're going to be delivering an album that doesn't really last a very long time, I remember a while back the linen album trend was a massive thing, and everyone went crazy for linen albums. So the cover was like a material. I'm not sure if those really have lasted very well, unless the couples that have been, the albums have been delivered to have really looked after them, because at the end of the day, the linen will kind of dirty over time and wear over time, and not in a very good way. So think about how you're presenting your albums to your clients, how you're packaging your albums. Do you give a nice USB drive? Are you putting all your images online? What does the online experience look like? That's part of your kind of products and your albums and your physicals. Think about that as well. Obviously, packaging. It's a huge trend. A lot of people do it. I'm not very good at this, I'm going to admit. A lot of photographers will package their album up so beautifully, write a lovely handwritten note. It's something that I wish I did better, because my handwriting is terrible. But a lot of photographers will kind of make this beautiful presentation and hand it over to the client, and that's a huge way to increase your brand identity. Your clients will often take photos of that, put it up on their Instagram, and that goes to their friends, and it kind of snowball effect, word of mouth kind of trickles out from there, which is amazing. And then obviously, brand identity is anything and everything that everyone sees. So think about that when you're working on your brand identity. It's really everything that everyone sees. And you kind of want to make sure that you're factoring that in to your overall brand. Another way to separate yourself here is service delivery. This is something that I have really pushed hard on to try and make sure that I'm doing the best possible job. What do you do differently to every other photographer? Because there are millions of photographers out there. What are you specifically doing differently in your business to, let's say, old Susie down the road? Think about that. Really try and be introspective. Tonight, take a notepad and write a bunch of ideas down, things that you could potentially improve on your business. Something that I've improved drastically with my business is my turnaround time. I am able to deliver images to clients within 10 days of the wedding, fully edited, completely done, uploaded, high-resolution images for them to download while they're on honeymoon even. Sometimes it's literally that quick. So we say to our clients 10 days from the wedding day, but we often deliver within 5 to 7 days. I have a very interesting and exciting system that I will be sharing more information on. So all of that is going to be explained in part 3. I know that I'm a little bit teasing you a little bit now, but part 3 will have all of this information in great detail, how I edit and how I deliver my images so quickly. So if you want to get all that information, make sure you come back, make sure you follow Sony Alpha SA on Instagram, and follow me on Instagram as well. I'll be posting updates, and part 3 is where I will cover how I've turned around images within 10 days. It's a massive one. What that allows me to do is shoot more weddings, book more work, and do what I love. It's the best thing ever. So please make sure you join me in part 3 of this webinar for that information. How friendly are you on the wedding day? Service delivery. How friendly are you with your client? How friendly are you with the family members? That's a hugely important one for me personally. I want to make sure that I'm as friendly as possible with the bride, the mother of the bride, the mother of the groom, the father and the father of the bride and groom as well. All of the family, I want to try and go the extra mile to make sure that I'm making everyone happy. A wedding day is supposed something that's supposed to be happy. You don't want someone to be obnoxious as a photographer or kind of brash. So kind of soften your heart as much as possible and be as friendly as you can be to everyone around. That means sometimes after the family photos, I go up to the mother of the bride and say, I'll say, hey mom, I know that might not be appropriate, but I say, hey mom, is there anything else I can do to make sure that you're happy with your photos? Is there any other photo that we've missed that you'd like specifically? And she'll say, no, you guys have done a great job. Thank you so much for covering everything. Or she'll say, yep, actually, Aunt Susie, we want to get one photo with the bride and groom and Aunt Susie as well. So please can we do that shot? And all I've done there is I've crept into her mind and made an impression in her mind. I've tried to be friendly with her, and I've tried to make sure that I'm kind of affecting everyone in a positive way. Friendliness is hugely important to me. So try and leave your attitude at the door. You are not this rock star that comes through and just kind of takes over. Try and be friendly. It'll make a much more lasting impression on your clients on the day. Obviously, professionalism. Your service delivery in terms of how quickly you respond to emails, how quickly you respond to the initial inquiry is absolutely pivotal. You cannot take longer than, I say even 12 hours. Longer than 12 hours is absurd to me. I mean, I know a lot of photographers will leave it 3-4 days before they respond. Be quick, the quicker you respond, the better. Obviously, if it's like 5 minutes, try and not respond in 5 minutes, because you might actually not seem genuine. It might seem like an automated response. So try and give it about 30 minutes to an hour and then respond. That's usually a good time frame that I've experienced. But professionalism in your work is incredibly important. So really go the extra mile after the wedding day as well. Send an email to follow up to say thank you so much for having us. Really go out of your way to make sure that you seem professional to your clients. One thing that I did very much in the very beginning parts of my career before I started working with wedding planners was I would offer help to my bride and groom, to my clients, and say to them, guys, I understand that you have never done a wedding before. Let me help you with your wedding planning. And I would go out and I would source wedding photographers, not wedding photographers. I'd source, makeup artists and hair, and I'd help them with, planning music for the day, booking a DJ, all those kinds of things. I'd help them with those kind of processes. I remember with this one client, I actually did all of their wedding planning for them. I booked almost everyone. I even paid it out of my account after they paid me. They said we want to kind of reduce the stress as much as possible, and I made a really good impression with them on the initial client meeting. So they trusted me from the very beginning, and they paid me everything, and then I booked all of their providers as well. This was before I knew how valuable that was, so I didn't make any extra profit on that, but whatever. I booked the wedding. They were a very good client. They chose one of my highest packages, and I did other shoots for them as well, maternity, anniversary shoots, and lots of stuff. So they were a really great client to have, and I really went the extra mile. I showed that I was professional with them, and doing that kind of thing is a great way to kind of set yourself apart from the rest. Next step, we have pricing. We typically value ourselves below our worth. It's just how it is, even when you're doing basic things like recording a video. You will do sometimes 15 to 20 different takes. I know I've done this, and say, that first take was terrible, that second take was terrible, and you'll do another one and another one. I've done this just recently. I started recording some videos for YouTube, and I realized that the first take was pretty good. The second take was also pretty good. We always kind of speak down on ourselves. That's what I've found. So we always typically value ourselves less than our worth. So what you're charging right now for your weddings might actually be too little. And you might actually be damaging your brand by undervaluing it. By charging a little bit for your work, you're actually saying to your clients, you know what, I'm not really worth the amount of money that I could be charging. if I kind of increase my pricing. You're saying to your clients, this. My favorite example for this is the expensive handbag. So we have one expensive Gucci handbag here, and we have a knockoff Gucci handbag here. This handbag, they're completely identical. You can't tell the difference from them with your eye. This handbag is 20,000 Rand, let's say 2,000 USD, and this handbag is 200 Rand or 20 USD. You can immediately tell that this is the real handbag, this is the more expensive one, and this is the luxurious handbag. It's just price creates value in people's minds. Same reason why people shop at supermarkets that are more expensive than supermarkets that aren't as expensive. It's because of price. People think that the more money you spend on something, the higher value it is. One of my favorite kind of quotes is, you can charge whatever you want as long as you provide enough value for it. And by doing that, you kind of need to create perceived value. So think about what what you can do in your packages that adds value without a specific hard cost. So a hard cost, for example, is your album or your USB drive. Those cost 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 Rand sometimes. Think about things that you can add to your packages that aren't a specific hard cost. For example, a client gallery, an online client gallery might be a good one. If you guys want, I can share the information that I use for my client galleries. I'll do that in the comments a little bit later. But you could use, you could add a client gallery, you could add an engagement shoot, you could add a post-wedding shoot, you could add something along those lines, something that kind of separates you from other people, something that's interesting and exciting. I did a workshop a while back, and one of the photographers at the workshop was an incredibly good artist, or she is a very good artist, and she does these beautiful kind of drawings on her iPad for her clients. So every single wedding that she books, she does a drawing for her clients. It costs her nothing. It costs her maybe 30 minutes of her time, but the perceived value with that specific example is very, very high. I hope that kind of makes sense. She's handing this over. The perceived value of that artwork is about maybe 2,000 or 3,000 Rand, but it's costing her zero. So by adding that kind of perceived value, she's able to push the price up for her packages, and she's able to charge a bit more. I think it's a great way to kind of separate yourself, a great way to add a bit more value to your clients. Expensive generally means quality. It's as simple as that. As much as I hate that, it's generally quite true. And cheap generally means lower quality. So you need to really do a bit of market research here and dig into your industry, dig into your market, and try and figure out where you sit with your work to actually figure out your pricing correctly. But pricing is a huge impact on your brand presence, on your brand identity. One more thing, just quickly on the brand identity, the style of photography that you're doing. Try to keep this true to you as much as you possibly can. Style is something that if you're shooting out of style, something that you don't enjoy doing, I personally don't like that kind of approach, because I don't like the idea of doing something that I don't love. So I like to keep my style true to me. If I'm not liking the work I'm producing, then I feel like I'm lying to myself. So try and keep your style as true to you as possible. But style is something that everyone has, and everyone can have from just picking up a camera and editing an image. It's really kind of intrinsic. You can kind of copy other people's styles, but overall, I believe that your style will kind of remain as close to who you are and what you want to put across as possible. This comes down to your editing, your lighting, and how you shoot on the day. How you shoot on the day includes the kind of angles you're using, the light you're using, the places you're shooting, the backgrounds you're shooting. There's so much that goes into style. It would take me a full day to discuss that, but also your editing. Now, I just wanted to touch quickly on editing, because I think a lot of people will go ahead, buy a preset pack, and just layer it across all of their images. I would recommend not doing that. Try and find something that's quite unique to you. So try and, even if you take a preset pack, for example, and kind of refine it a little bit. So take it, do a little bit of work on the pack, maybe adjust the tone curve, adjust the saturation, the HSL levels, and kind of refine it a little bit. that'll kind of make your style a little bit different even to the rest of the people who are using that specific pack. So remember, you want to kind of separate yourself from the pack. You don't want to kind of form part of this massive conglomerate of the exact same style of image. Personally, I mean, it is a personal opinion, but by separating yourself, you're able to kind of market yourself a bit better as well. Every client that's ever booked me has said to me, we love your style of editing because we feel like it feels edited, but it doesn't look overly edited. And I've done a lot of work to really get to that point with my editing. And again, the editing part of this webinar will be in part 3, where I discuss editing and delivery. So again, if you want to find out about how I'm editing my images so quickly and how I edit them, join me in part 3 as well. But also, one more thing, your style of photography is influenced by your lighting. Now, what types of lights are you using on your shoot? If you're using big softboxes with strobes going through them, if you're using speed lights or if you're using LED lights, all of those things kind of affect your style in terms of the final image that you're getting out, but also how your clients interpret you and how your style comes across on the day. If you're using softboxes and strobes and you don't really know what you're doing and you're taking 20 minutes to set up 2 or 3 shots, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. That's not really the best way to kind of handle yourself, in my opinion. I think try and be nice and quick. If you're going to use strobes, that's perfectly fine, but really kind of refine your work so that you're operating as quickly as possible, and you are getting the quality of work that you want. I love to use LED lights, so I have some LED panels that I use. They're really quick. They allow me to get the kind of shots that I'm looking for, and they allow me to separate myself a little bit from the people who are just using natural light. So I use LED lights and I really love them. One more thing in terms of your brand identity is how you market yourself. Now, you might think, okay, cool, marketing is marketing. How is marketing affecting my branding? Well, if you're marketing in very bizarre places, that could negatively affect your branding. If you're going to a car boot market, for example, and putting up a wedding photography sign and saying, hey, hire me, I'm a wedding photographer, you're not going to be perceived as a very high-end photographer. I mean, I feel like that goes without saying. But the same goes on the opposite end. So if you're using extremely expensive websites, extremely expensive magazines, like Vogue, for example, or one of the high-end wedding magazines, that kind of speaks a message to your clients saying, look, we are high-end. We are advertising in high-end magazines. You need to expect a high-end price point, and you need to take us seriously. It increases your brand image, but also it comes down to the creative. If you're putting out a creative on your advert that's really low quality, it will not be perceived high quality no matter what. So you need to really consider that as part of your marketing. Print advertising generally does make people think of quality. I know for me it does, and a lot of high-end brides will go through magazines to pick their wedding photography. It is extremely expensive to print in magazine, so you need to kind of be very careful with this. I have tried magazine advertising. It's worked at some times, and it's also completely flopped at others. So make sure you get your magazines, the magazine that you're interested in, make sure you get their media kit, analyze it, and make sure you've really looked this through. How you market yourself also comes down to the planners that you're working with. Are you working with high-end planners, the people who are getting international clients that are coming through and getting married in the country that you're working in? Consider that. The planner that you're associating yourself with has a specific brand as well, and you really want to make sure that you're considering that before you work with specific planners, or if you're working with a planner that has a very good reputation, that'll immediately boost your reputation as well. Social media and Google Ads, I put this into your branding because I personally feel like everyone is doing social media and Google Ads now. It's everywhere and it's all over the place, and every photographer is doing it. I think that it's important to do. However, I think that by doing that, you're also saying you're like the rest. So it's kind of like this tricky space to be in. So I really try and refine those ads to a specific location where I know my client will be. And I'll explain that in a little bit during the marketing section. But by using social media and Google Ads, I think that sometimes it can bring your brand down if you aren't doing it the right way. So you need to be very careful as to the brand that you're putting across. This is something I've just done recently. I've created video ads with my images compiled in with some exciting music, and I've been running those, and they've been doing really well. So think about a way that you can separate yourself on social media and Google that's slightly different to everyone else. So create an exciting video ad as a slideshow, learn how to use Final Cut or learn how to use Premiere Pro, and create something that's a little bit more exciting. You know, I think people are a little bit tired of seeing, oh, look, there's an image of I used this example during a workshop recently. Look, I've got an image of a wolf with a couple behind, a bridal couple behind. Like, cool. No one really cares, you know, that you've got another image and it's a nice, exciting image. Try and do something that's a little bit more spicy, as I like to call it. So that's something. So that's pretty much your brand identity. I see there's a lot of questions coming through here, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking about marketing strategy now. I think this is what everyone has been waiting for because it's hugely important. I'm going to quickly run through the couple steps that I've got here. Building a relationship with your planners, with venues, with your social media ads, Google, including adverts and SEO, other photographers that you have in your network or in your industry, wedding suppliers, and obviously former clients. These are my key marketing strategy steps that I use. These are the ones that I go to all the time when I think about a marketing strategy. I'll always go to these specific steps. Now to start off, the most important for me, I live in Cape Town, and wedding planning is it kind of runs the industry in Cape Town. I'm not sure about your specific industry in your country, but do some market research and see how your brides and your clients are coming into the kind of wedding funnel. Where are they starting to get their information, and before they kind of trickle out to wedding photographers, florists, makeup artists. Think about where they're getting their initial inquiry, and that's your primary go-to for me. For me, wedding planners in Cape Town kind of run the show, so I use my wedding planners all the time to do my marketing, but you need to be real. I've put this here, build real relationships. Engage with them, be as friendly as you can on the day, really try and make sure that you go the extra mile for them. If they ask for a client meeting, make sure you're at the client meeting. Try and move stuff around if you can to assist them. It's just a great way to build a relationship with the planner that can pay off with you guys. This is one of the most important parts to marketing for me, and it's one of the best ways that you can market yourself. One thing that I've just started recently, that I've done a couple times in the past, but I've started really to work on recently, is to build an email digest for planners. So, get a digest of all the email addresses for all the planners, and send through a newsletter to them. Contact them and say to them, this is what we're doing differently. These are some recent blog posts. This is a little video that we've done about us. And kind of create some sort of awareness about you to planners, just to kind of get the ball rolling. Something that's really important is to kind of just keep in touch with them. And I've started this email digest. It's been working really great for me, and it kind of keeps you on top of their email feed. It keeps you in the back of their mind. So when they're thinking about pitching to a client, they can pitch you as part of the three, or even if you've made a really good impression, you solely as the photographer for the wedding. Offer help to planners. This is hugely important. It's kind of that you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of situation. Offer help to planners if they've done an amazing wedding and they know that they're working with a photographer that they don't like, or that it hasn't got the best style for whatever reason, and this information, or this is the thing, build the relationship with them. I would recommend, if it's not too far away, to, if it's a 30-minute drive, go out to the venue for them, ask them, hey, would you like us to photograph the wedding? You can come through, shoot all the decor for them, make sure you get permission from the photographer, or from the wedding planner, obviously, and kind of, that's what I love to do. I've reached out to a lot of planners, and I've said to them, if you guys ever have any weddings that you need help with decor or establishing shots or anything like that, you let me know. I'll come out. I'll come shoot it for you for free. And I think that that's a great way to get in their minds. Your images get put onto their website, their social media, and some coverage there as well. Portfolio shoots. I love this. I do this all the time. Offer your wedding planners the people that you're working with a portfolio shoot. So say to them, hey guys, we've seen that you've got, we've seen that it's 2020 now. We're going into winter of 2020 in the Southern Hemisphere. We think it'd be cool to do a refresh of your brand look and your brand appearance. So why don't we come through to your business and photograph all your staff for you guys for free? Let's do something like that. Let's do something a little bit different. And I promise you, if you contact the right planners and you make the right moves there, that will pay off like you cannot believe. So really think about ways that you can get in touch with people and offer them something that excites them. And marketing ideas. I've put this in at the very end because this really depends on you. Think about other ways that you can market your brand. Other ways that you can work with wedding planners to separate yourself in the industry. Say to a wedding planner, look, I want to do this crazy idea of, for example, I'm just thinking this at the top of my head, getting a minibus or like a minibus. Get a minibus together, send out some private information, some private invites to a bunch of different brides, or get them to do some registration and let you know all the information about their wedding. Send out an invite to all of these brides and say, hey, we're doing a venue scouting and we're doing a one-day experience for 20 different couples. And you can then say to the wedding planner, work with me on this. We'll take all of these brides around to all of these venues. We could say we visit 5 or 6 venues in a day. We'll have we'll organize champagne for them. We'll organize all these awesome things, and you become this industry leader immediately because you're doing something that's very different. So all of these brides see you, 15 to 20 different brides see you, and they say, wow, this is something that's really, really different, very, very unique. I've never seen any photographer or wedding planner do this, and that's something you can work really well with on a wedding planner. The wedding planner can do 5 tips for running your wedding, and you can do a 5 tips for posing as a couple, a little talk with them during the lunch or something like that. So that's just something I literally came up with right now. But you can come up with all sorts of ideas and work with the wedding planners, because you'll find more often than not they are willing to work with you as well. They want to get their name out there, and they know by partnering with a high quality photographer that could actually help them as well. So just to jump on to the next step here, I see there's lots of questions. Thank you so much, guys, for all the questions. I am going to answer all of these questions at the end, so please stay tuned for the Q&A. I will go through everything and really run through all the questions. So please keep asking questions. I am getting all the notifications here as well with me, so I'm looking forward to actually going through these all. Thank you. Wedding venues, also a very important part. When I started my business, I actually only worked with wedding venues. There were no wedding planners in the, where I was from. So I just used wedding venues. I went to wedding venues. I shot the venues for them for free. I went through and did all sorts of amazing, like, kind of scenery shots, location shots. I shoot the venue, shoot the reception area, shoot the creative possibilities in the area, give it to the venues for free. And just say, hey guys, if you ever have a photographer, please let us know. This is something that you can do. I'm so glad you're enjoying the. Thanks, Emily. This is something that you can do for free, that costs you nothing except petrol. Take a drive or email the planner, phone the wedding venue and say, guys, I want to come through and shoot your entire venue for free. Can I please do that? Let me know. What is that going to hurt you? Nothing. It's an easy way to get in and to get on someone's radar. Contact them and say, let me come through and shoot the venue. Do that for them. Do something even more. Do a blog post for them. Put them on your blog. Give them a backlink from your blog to their website. They're going to see that and they're going to be like, wow, that's something we didn't expect. You can run a blog post series, top 10 wedding venues in South Africa, or top 10 wedding venues in the Western Cape, KZN, Egypt or India, whatever it may be. Wherever you're watching this right now, do a top 10 blog post for venues. Venues obviously that you've worked at, that you can share some information and kind of put some information there, put some behind the scenes photos of the venues, and really be kind of transparent and help them out. This will get you on people's radar much more. So it's really, really a great way to kind of get in touch with venues. I've also put here, be the fastest photographer to send images after a wedding. Like, the number of times I've heard venues and planners and everyone say, oh, it takes a photographer years to send us images. We have to wait 3-4 months to get images from a wedding. You know, I feel like that's not just ridiculous. That's you are losing out on potential marketing. Like, you need to remember that. If you are not sending images within a day after sending it to your client, you're losing out on marketing options, because your client is so excited. They're posting to their stories, their Instagram, their Facebook. Your other providers, the other service providers at the wedding are also wanting to do the same. The venues are wanting to do the same. So get your images to your venues that you've shot at as quickly as you possibly can. I actually, and you're wondering, how do I get a list of all the names? How do I get all the email addresses of everyone? It's such a mission. Don't make it a mission. This is something that you can do beforehand. Say to your bride, hey, old Susie, I'd love to get a list of all of the service providers at your wedding, just so that we can make sure that we keep in touch with them and so that we can send them the photos after we've sent them to you. Send her an email saying, can you send us a list of all the email addresses? And she will do that. Planners love you when you say this, because they know that they're going to get the images as quickly as possible. So what I'm trying to say is, get that list together. So once you've sent your gallery to your wedding, to your bridal couple, you can send it to everyone else, including the venue. And email the venue afterwards, after you've sent it to them, and say, hey guys, just a reminder, we sent you all the images. They will flip out. They'll say, how, first of all, because you will have sent it to them within a very short space of time, and they wouldn't have had to contact you for these images. They're going to post it all over their social media, and they're going to go crazy with images, use it on their website. If you're not doing that, you're just losing out on marketing. It's ridiculous, truly. One more thing, I just wanted to make, or a couple more things. Have a conversation with the wedding venue on the day. Whoever the person is who's running the venue, conversate with them, actually have a conversation with them, and try and get an idea as to how they operate at the venue, if they work with planners, if they have a referral list, and try and get some information from them. Be genuine, be helpful, be respectful, and be friendly to them as well. So offer to help. What I've done is sometimes I'll need to shoot decor, but the candles haven't been lit yet. So I'll say to them, hey guys, is there any way I can just light 2 or 3 tables? My assistant and I will light it. We don't want to, burn the candles down, but we just want to make sure that we get some really nice photos for the bride and groom, and just kind of be considerate of the fact that they don't want all the candles to burn, or they don't want something like that to happen where they have to light everything and then blow everything out as well. So kind of go the extra mile and think about how you can help them. If there are, if there's anything that you can do to make the wedding venue's life a bit easier, ask them where you're going to put your equipment. Don't just chuck your equipment on the dance floor. Think about where you are allowed to put your stuff. Ask them, say, is there any place I can put all of our equipment that doesn't look ridiculous? And every single time, the venue will say, you can put it in this room here, or you can put it around the corner. And I found that to be helpful for me, because I know exactly where my stuff is. I know that it's going to be behind a door, and it's going to be safe. But you've also said to them, look, I've considered you before anything. So I need you guys to remember that when you're going into your marketing. Be as considerate as you possibly can, be respectful, and be friendly. And then I think make an impression. This is massive. I kind of hate talking about this, because I don't want to come across as like, oh, I'm like amazing or whatever. But think about things that you can do that really, really help people. There was this one wedding I did in KZN in the Midlands in South Africa, and there was an old granny that was really struggling to get from the one part of the venue down to the bottom part of the venue by the dam. They were going to go cut the cake. So I said, let me help you walk down. and let me just kind of help you get there, because she was really struggling. It was quite a horrible path. So I kind of offered to help her, and I just helped her down. It took me 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, to get down to the bottom, but I made an impression on her, and the wedding planner saw that, the wedding venue saw that, and they acknowledged that. They actually, the mother of the bride actually sent me an email afterwards saying, "Thank you so much for doing that. We didn't realize that was happening. Thank you very much. We appreciate it." It's like ridiculous. It was just like a simple gesture. But try and make an impression. Go out of your way to help people. And with the wedding venues as well, if there's anything you can do, liaise with the venue coordinator, liaise with the chef on the day, to let them know how far the speeches are going. Let them know all of these things if you can. Try and keep respectful to the timeline of the day. And I'm really rambling on now. There's a lot going on. But try and be respectful for the timeline of the day. Don't go over your allocated time for your creative shoot. Try and let even if you can, if there's no wedding planner, try and let the venue coordinator or the chef know how far the speeches are going, whatever it may be. This is very situational, but I think it really makes a big difference when you take that time and you make that effort. I'm gonna go through all these questions in a little bit. We've got a little bit more. I know that I'm kind of speaking quite fast here, but we've got quite a bit more to cover. So we're going to go through former clients now. We're going to chat about former clients. This is also a very important marketing, kind of avenue. Your former clients in any business you're doing are important. And you might think, okay, cool, weddings. We do the wedding day and we're done. That's like a once-off thing. It's a very narrow-minded way to look at it, because you can market family shoots, anniversary shoots, maternity shoots, all sorts of different types of shoots. You can, even if you know that your client is, if they're working in a business, or they have if they have a different section to their careers, where they're doing where they need event photography, or they need food photography, or whatever it is, you can then pitch them your other businesses. You can say to them, I've done that for some of my clients, some of my wedding clients. I've actually said to them, guys, I also do commercial work. I also do, corporate stuff as well. So if you ever need a photographer for a corporate event, please let us know. And I send them the link to my other website. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That you've worked with them, they know you have a relationship with them. Think about that, consider that, and you can use that to your advantage. Do an email digest, an email newsletter as well for your former clients as well, something more generalized. And you can, the more that you're in people's inboxes, the more you're in the back of their minds, and they can consider then using you in the future. But something I really love is a referral program. Now, this is something that I really, really love to do, because what you're doing here is you're saying to your clients, if you refer a wedding to me, we will print an A2 sized image from your wedding. You can choose the image. It can be whatever image you want from the wedding day. And we'll print it A2 and deliver it to you for free. And you can say the image is valued at 1,200 or 1,500 rand, or whatever it may be. And it's printed on an archival quality, high quality, image print, and they can put it up in their home and do whatever they want with it. By doing that, you're saying to your clients, please refer us to your friends and to your family members who are getting married, but also saying that we value these recommendations, we value these referrals, and this is what we'd like to give you as a thank you. Doing something simple like an A2 print. I don't know about you guys, but that's not going to cost you a massive amount of money. That might cost you maximum 500 Rand or $50. And the value of that is so high, and it's so worth it to kind of do that for your clients. So I highly recommend you guys put together some sort of referral program, design a little PDF and send it out to all your clients, your former clients. You should have an email database of all your previous clients. If you don't, go through and make one, and send it out to all your clients and just say, hey guys, we've just started a new referral program. Please do keep us in mind if you have any friends or family members who are getting married at the moment. We would love to work with them, and we'd love to see you again. Something like that, and I promise you, more often than not, you'll have someone refer you to a family member or a friend. Other suppliers, kind of similar to venues, but marketing to other suppliers is also very important. I wouldn't say it's as important as planners or venues, but keep good relationships with everyone. On the day, join wedding planning groups, join Facebook groups that have other suppliers, and and connect with people on Instagram and Facebook, and really get in touch with people, build up your kind of brand, and build up your appearance to everyone else, and really make the effort. Don't just kind of fake it. Be real, and be genuine. If you're going to go comment on someone's post, be real and actually make an impression on them. You can do style shoots as well to offer portfolio work to those people. A lot of people are looking for portfolio work, a lot of suppliers, a lot of new suppliers, and a lot of very trendy suppliers as well. So there's nothing wrong with you doing and even arranging a style shoot, and contacting 5 or 6, 7 different suppliers, getting them together, and doing a style shoot. It gives them amazing work. It gives you amazing work that you can use to market with, and it gets you on other people's on other people's radars. Also, by doing that, what you're doing is you're getting your work on everyone else's pages, on everyone's social medias and websites, and etc. etc. You get the point I'm trying to make. There's nothing wrong with putting a little bit of time in. You can put in a half-day shoot, and then all of a sudden you have your work on 6, 7 different social media pages, 6, 7 different websites. I mean, I feel like that goes without saying that how valuable that is. But also be willing to help. This is something that really matters. Similar to the wedding planners and the venues, offer to do a shoot. If there's a supplier that you've worked with for a very long time, let me actually tell you a little bit of a story before I carry on. I worked with a wedding DJ for a very long time when I was starting my career, and he actually helped me start a lot of my marketing, and we worked a lot together. And he got married a while back, and I said to him, "Look, let me come through and shoot your wedding, on the house. Let me shoot it for free because that's something that I really appreciate." I know that's first of all, that thanks him for the work that he's given me in the past, how we worked together in the past, but also it solidifies myself to his clients and to his former clients that he's the one that he trusts for. I'm the one that he trusts for his wedding photography. So it's just a small example, but I'm not saying you have to do something that drastic, but offering him a shoot might be a good option, just to kind of get out there as well. Right. A lot of people have this idea of competition, and I like to think more of community as opposed to competition. So I like to kind of respond to other photographers. I get in people's DMs and respond to them, talk to them, build up a bit of a relationship with other people, and you'll find that you can pick up other photographers, overflow. So whatever work that they're full for that day. You can they will most likely send that work to you if you've built a great relationship with them, and refer to other photographers when you're booked. There's absolutely no point in saying, hi, getting an inquiry, they're booked on your wedding day, and you saying to the client or the potential client, hey guys, sorry, no, we actually don't have, we aren't available for your date, goodbye. It's just like, it's a wasted opportunity to build a connection with someone else. I have a list of photographers that I refer to all the time. So I'll get a client inquiry, and I might be booked for the day. I'll reply to the client and say to them, hey guys, thank you so much for your inquiry. Unfortunately, I'm already booked for the day, but make sure you contact these photographers to inquire with them. I know them personally, and they're all great photographers. So please be sure to do that. By doing that, you're making that couple happy, because they would have had to go look for other recommendations. And you're also helping another photographer in your industry. It's valuable, it really is, because you could potentially get a referral back later on. It's just important to me to actually, to be a decent human. I feel like that doesn't need to be said, but sometimes we need to say that. Be genuine and be helpful. Be friendly. Contact people. Comment on their photos, and just be a real person and be helpful. That's a great way to market yourself. Get out in the industry and really kind of mingle. You'll find that's really, really, really helpful, really useful. Right. Google Ads. This is the quickest way to get to the top of Google. There's so much competition now with SEO. There's a lot of other photographers who are trying to get specific keywords up to the top of Google for their business and for their website. So using Google Ads, it's just the quickest way to get to the top. It can be quite pricey, but you need to be very careful about where you're targeting. Where is your work being specifically targeted? The website, the ads that you're running, you need to target them to places that your clients are. So if I'm running a Google ad for an international client set, I'm going to be running it specifically for clients in, for example, Berlin. I've had some clients from Berlin, so there's a possibility that that could be, that could be relevant. And I'll also add specific keywords there, so that clients from Berlin who are flying to South Africa to shoot could potentially see my ad on Google when they're looking for a wedding photographer. So really consider the locations that your clients are in. If you're in a specific country and you know locations that have a specific LSM or a spending ability, and you have a higher expense, if your packages are more expensive, you can target specific locations to really make sure that your ads are not being kind of wasted on people who can't afford your work. I don't really want clients who can't afford me to see my ads, because that results in a waste of expense. It just doesn't make any sense, and you're going to end up with a lot of inquiries that you don't get replies from. But Google Ads is a very, very powerful platform to get to the top. Of Google, page one of Google. Really, you need to really do some research here, because there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of different ways and techniques to do this Google advertising. Do some research, go onto the Google resources, go and watch some YouTube videos on this, because it's a very, very dense and intense kind of operation that you want to make sure that you're not wasting your money on Google. But overall, you need to be running ads if your Google business isn't ranking at the top of Google. It's as simple as that. If your website isn't very, very strong in terms of its SEO, search engine optimization, you need to be running ads so that you can, for whatever reason, so that you can at any point get an inquiry from someone who's typing in Cape Town wedding photographer, for example. Remember that Google is very different to Instagram and Facebook in that people are going to Google specifically to look for something specific. There's no other reason that someone's going to Google. People go onto Instagram and Facebook for other reasons, but if you're going to Google and you're typing in Cape Town wedding photographer, I want to be there. I want to be on the top of that specific list, because that client is looking for a wedding photographer based in Cape Town. I feel like that kind of goes without saying, but that's really, really important, and it shows how important Google is. The people who are using Google are looking for something very particular. So you want to make sure that you're up on the top of Google, and that's a hugely important marketing avenue. Social media. We're going to be talking now quickly about social media and just generally how to use it and how to kind of optimize your life. Be on as many platforms as you possibly can. There's no reason why you can't be, because I use a tool called IFTTT. It's called if this, then that. I think it might be IFTT, then that, if this, then that, yeah. But go and look that up. It basically posts to a bunch of different places if you post one image. So if you post an image to your Instagram, it can post it to Facebook, Pinterest, to Twitter, to Tumblr even if you want. And it can kind of spread your work across all over the place, posting your exact same caption if you want. So it's a great way to kind of streamline your life. There's no reason why you can't be on all the platforms with this specific tool. It doesn't take you any more time, just kind of make sure you're doing that properly. Later is also a great scheduling tool, so go to later.com and check it out. This will help you kind of plan your life and schedule specific things in, specific posts in, and it's really, really intuitive and really easy to use. You can also build up a really nice image library and content library on the platform, which you can access from your phone and trigger at any point if you want to customize your schedule. But use Later as a scheduling tool. Yeah, it's a really good option. I use it all the time. Guys, TikTok. I know I'm going to get dragged in the comments about this, and I think a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I believe TikTok is blowing up, and I've been trying to look at ways to market on TikTok. I know that this is not necessarily a wedding target market, but every little, most little girls have this idea of getting married one day. They have this kind of like fantasy, and everyone who is, between 13 and 18 right now will be 20 to 30 at some point. So if you can make a really good impression on TikTok, if you can build a really good audience, posting little behind the scenes shoots or little fairy tale stories of your clients, little slideshows or something like that, think about ways that you can kind of separate yourself. People are crazy about TikTok right now, so really try and get on it. I'm going to try and get on it myself in the next few weeks. But it's going to blow up. It's blowing up very soon, so try and be on there, because by getting onto TikTok, you're also helping your other brands, your other platforms. It'll help your Instagram, because you can actually link up your Instagram to your TikTok as well. So try that out. Don't shame me for it. I know it's embarrassing, but it's important, I think. Right. Adverts, social media adverts can be hit or miss. Similar to Google Ads, you want to target specific places, specific areas that your clients are in. There's no point in targeting the entire country, because you'll find people that don't want your work or can't afford your work seeing your ads, and it'll just be a waste of your time at the end of the day. So try and target specific locations that you will get work from. I use social media ads all the time, but I try and make them a little bit different to all the others. So I'll do that video ad that I spoke about, something a little bit more exciting, a little bit more spicy. But don't just go and boost a post and expect to get a bunch of inquiries from it. It just doesn't work like that. Cool. I'm going to talk about Instagram now. I think we might be running out of time, but it's fine. Don't stress. Instagram is obviously one of the most popular platforms. It is literally based around images. So everyone on Instagram is going there to see images. Now there's more memes and there's more text content as well. But people love sharing images and love to consume images on Instagram. You need to stop posting and just hoping something will happen. It's not going to. It's not how Instagram works. The algorithm now is so against you. It's ridiculous. So think about other ways you can use Instagram to optimize, your brand's reach. DM people. Now this is hugely, hugely valuable. This is something that I did every single day for an hour. I would go to a post, for example, on a wedding photography, kind of like a group wedding, like wedding photography inspiration. Go to that post with my brand account. And I would go to everyone who's liked a recent image, and I'd go and engage with those people who's liked those images. So you can go through and message, you can DM people if you want. It might be a bit much on a brand account, but you can comment on their accounts and just kind of say, if there's a photo of a wedding photo or even a photo of food or whatever, it doesn't even matter. Just contact, get in touch with them, like a couple photos, and just comment and be genuine. Don't fake it. Don't look ridiculously fake, but be real and connect with people. Try and do this and try and contact other wedding planners, wedding service providers, venues, other photographers, everyone you can. DM as many people as possible on Instagram, as much as you possibly can, and do it for an hour a day for the next 6 months. I promise you will grow your Instagram account. There's no way that it will not grow. So try that out. Do it for 2-3 weeks. And if you're having issues, DM me on Instagram. I'm serious. DM me, and I'll kind of walk you through how I do it. And I'll send you a little video as to how I do it. But I promise you, it's one of the most powerful things, and it's how I've built up my Instagram account, and it's how I've done a lot of work through Instagram. Actually, remember, let me tell a quick story. The first international wedding I did was in Egypt, and I got it because I DM'd a wedding planner in Egypt, and I said, hey guys, if you ever have any clients and they're looking for something different, they're looking for an international photographer, please let us know. We'd love to come through and shoot the wedding. I got that wedding. I got a recent wedding after that. So I promise you, DMing people DMing people works. And make sure your brand is up to scratch so that when you DM someone, they don't think, who on earth is this? Give that a go. I promise you'll be impressed. Hashtag your posts and your stories. Obviously that's important. Don't make it obtrusive. Put your hashtags in your first comment and shrink your hashtags in your stories all the way down so that you can't see them. Just pinch and kind of squash it as much as you can. And location your posts and stories. I'm not saying that these are very, very, I'm not saying that they're high engagement tools, but they might result in more views. It's as simple as that. So give it a go. It doesn't take you any more time. And I'm going to show you, actually, specifically with regards to that, in part 2, I'm going to show you how to streamline your workflow pre-wedding and on the day. So I'm going to talk about text replacement and how I optimize my text replacement to type in 3 letters and it puts out a whole string of hashtags or puts out a whole message as well. So that's going to be coming up in part 2 of this webinar. So make sure you join me for that. Stay tuned on the Sony Alpha SA Instagram page, and join me on my Instagram page as well. I'll be posting all this information on there as soon as the dates are finalized for the part 2 of the webinar. And then just finally, just to wrap up the Instagram side, stop caring so much. So many people are addicted to attention, addicted to likes, addicted to that kind of stuff. Forget about it. Stop caring so much about the likes that you're getting, the views that you're getting. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Keep going, keep hustling, keep putting the work in, and try and make sure that you ignore that noise of your mind sometimes telling you that you're not good enough. Stop caring about all of that. Keep going and keep pushing through. I promise you, you are good enough. And if you believe in yourself and you keep going, keep posting stories. Be vulnerable on your Instagram. Post stuff that matters. There's no reason why you can't do that. And I promise you, by forgetting about what people think of you, it'll change the way that you do your business, the way that you believe in yourself, and the way that you handle yourself online. Yeah, I'm going to quickly talk about this before we jump into the Q&A. When I first started, be as quick as possible. When I first started, I came from a place that really didn't have many weddings. I didn't have any experience in the wedding industry besides the weddings I was doing with another photographer. I was working for him part-time and then waiting tables as well. This is something that, weddings was something I loved from a very young age. I did my first wedding when I was 18 years old, and I loved shooting weddings from a very, very early age. So I knew, when I finished my degree, I wanted to do photography, and I had a portfolio for weddings. So what I did was I looked at all the other photographers in the market, in the industry that I was in, and I thought, what is everyone not doing? The first thing I realized back then, about 10 years ago or so, maybe a little bit more, I'm thinking about 11 years now, no one was using USB drives and no one had any sort of exciting packaging for their albums. So I thought, okay, cool, I'm using USB drives, I'm gonna get some cool USB drives, and I'm gonna customize them. So I put a photo of the couple on the USB drive. It was like a credit card one. So I customized it every single time for the couple, and they loved it, and it booked me a lot of work. I also went and built some wooden boxes. It was something that was very different at the time. I found a supplier who could build and kind of custom engrave wooden boxes for my wedding albums for my clients. And this is something that no one was doing at the time, and it really set me apart in the industry. I saw a gap, and I tried to exploit it. It took a bit of research. I must be honest, I spent about 3-4 months in my room building my business, doing all my branding. This was after I finished my degree, doing all my branding and really hustling to make sure that I did what I wanted to do. But I didn't give up, and I tried to find as much opportunity as possible. I need you guys to look for opportunities in your industries. Try and find places that people are not doing specific things. That could be helping a planner, helping a venue, doing an exciting video, something interesting like that. There's so many different things. Turnaround time is a big one. How you're delivering your images. I'm going to go through a bunch of these topics and a bunch of amazing ways to kind of streamline your process and to kind of optimize your business in the next 2 series, the next 2 webinars, part 2 and part 3. So I really want you guys to join me for those. They're going to be a lot of fun. I want to just run through some of the Q&A quickly, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the main hectic part of the webinar. If you have any questions, please chuck them down here, put them down here. And if there is anything that I cannot answer right now because of time, I think we still have some time, so I should be able to answer all of these questions. But if there isn't anything that we're answering, make sure you go to the @SonyAlphaSA Instagram page and Facebook page. Like those pages. We'll probably be doing an Instagram takeover there. I'll do an Instagram takeover, and I will do a live stream answering any other questions that you have. And if you have any specific personal questions that you want, or if you want any brand coaching or business marketing coaching or consulting, please do DM me at the Matt Masson. I think my handle is down below. DM me and I will respond to you and we can chat about that as well. Cool. I'm going to go through the questions now, guys. Thank you so much for all these questions. This is really awesome. Lots of questions about... Mandy asks me, do you use a Canon camera? No, Mandy, I use a proper camera, a Sony camera. Sorry about that. Cool, I'm going to go through here. Emily asks me, Emily says that she's very ashamed about the TikTok part, but flipping interested to see how we can market on TikTok. Haven't considered that at all. Absolutely. I think that TikTok is something that is very underestimated right now. There are about 4 or 5 photographers that I've seen on TikTok blow up that post amazing content. Think about it differently, and I promise you, you will find a great way to market on TikTok. KG Media asks me, how do you find your unique editing style? Now, this is really up to you. You need to go through your images, edit your images in a way that you like, find the specific style that you like. You can be inspired by presets if you want. Go through, download some presets that you really like, but customize them. Don't just slap a preset on and call it a day. Try and spice it up a little bit, make something that you're proud of, that you find exciting, and work on your editing style. I will be talking about my editing style later on in part 3 of the webinar series. That'll be coming later in the next few weeks. So make sure you sign up, make sure you subscribe to that on social media. There'll be a lot of promotion for that as well. I'm just going to quickly mark that as read. Okay, cool. Where did you study your degree? Jason asks me. Wow. Jason, I actually did I didn't do a photography degree. I did a business degree and I studied it through UNISA. It was actually, I didn't really learn too much in my degree, if I'm brutally honest, but it kind of trained my mind to think from a business aspect. So, yeah, I studied it through UNISA. I would highly recommend not doing a photography degree. You can slate me or execute me for that comment if you want. There are other ways to learn photography. You can join a workshop. I host workshops all the time where I can teach people. There is an absolute crazy amount of content on YouTube that you can look up, and obviously use your camera, play with your camera and learn that way. It's a great way to, it's a really important way to learn. Yanita says, hey Yanita, how are you? Says, good to see you here. Will the webinar be saved? I missed the first part. Yes, guys, if you've missed any parts of this webinar, it will be coming up on the Sony website in the next few weeks. We haven't decided on an exact date yet, but it will be available for you to view online. So don't stress too much. Don't have too much FOMO. That's fine. Aran says to me about your 10-day turnaround time. How many images do you usually give to the client? I usually deliver about, to be brutally honest, I never limit the number of images I deliver. So it's usually between 800 to 1,400 images, and those are all edited. Those are all very different. I do shoot a lot on a wedding day, but I also shoot all of the guests. I shoot all of the stuff that's happening. So it's, I'm still able to deliver that in 10 days, and I will talk about that more in part 3. Alex says, thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Matt says, do you worry about burnout being a full-time freelancer? Yes and no. I haven't burnt out yet in my career, but I've come pretty close. But I've optimized my workflow as much as I possibly can now so that I can streamline my processes and shoot more work. That's literally what all of this is about. All of these this 3-part webinar series is about. It's about optimizing and streamlining your workflow. Part 2 will be key for that. Part 3 will be key for that, guys. So if you want to join, please do join me then for part 2 and 3. All of that will be answered then. Chantel says, thank you for that last bit in terms of being vulnerable. Looking forward to hearing from you more. Thank you, Chantel. Like I said, being vulnerable and being real with people is important. Be vulnerable with your clients if you feel comfortable with it, but be vulnerable with people on social media. It really makes a big difference. It humanizes you and makes you much more relatable to people. Aran says again, 10-day turnaround for images. How long do you take to make your standard size album, and do you let your clients choose the pics? Yes, I do. The reason I know a lot of people don't like letting your clients choose the pictures. I let my clients choose the pictures because I don't know everyone's family, and I don't know the family dynamic. I don't know any issues in the family that there might be. So I let my clients choose the images. I'd let them choose about 100 images or up to 80 images, and then I'll design the album around that, and then adding other images that I think are great. How long do you take to make your standard size album? I can design an album within an hour, maybe 2 hours, probably an hour, honestly. And then that gets sent off to the printers. The printers obviously take a bit longer, but yeah, hope that answers that. I think we've answered this one. Kershwin, thanks for the question. Emily just says thank you so much for the webinar. Having a great time. That's awesome. Thanks, Emily. Matt says, would you suggest immediately charging a correct price when diving into a new field of photography? I.e., if I start in wedding photography today, should I charge around the same as other wedding photographers? I hope that makes sense. Matt, that's a very good question. I wish your surname was here because I think I recognize that question. I think someone's asked me that by the name of Matt as well before. But let me answer that for you guys. I think that you can charge whatever you want to charge as long as you have the portfolio, as long as you can substantiate what you're charging, as long as it makes sense, as long as it's enough value for the client. If you have the great portfolio of weddings behind you, you can honestly charge that because your clients will understand that. You need to make sure that you have the right equipment to jump into weddings, though. A lot of photographers who are starting out might not actually have enough equipment, enough reliable equipment to shoot a wedding. Weddings can be very stressful and very intense. So if you aren't relying on your equipment, if you don't have very, very good quality equipment, you might run into some issues then, and you really don't want to be charging a lot of money and having issues where you don't get specific shots or you mess up a wedding. So just to go back to your question, I think it really depends on how much experience you have. If you've done any weddings at all, try and get as much information on that as you can, and then you can price yourself accordingly. Lee agrees with me. She says that I have a Bachelor of Fine Art Photography as my major, and I say 80%. She says about 90% of what she has learned has been self-taught. I'm sorry, Lee. It's just the case. Look, a lot of degrees focus on very, very simple stuff, which you can probably learn on YouTube now. I hope I don't get sued by a university for saying that, but it is true. Alex asks me, is there any training to master your Sony camera? Use your camera, shoot as much as you can. When I first got my Sony camera, I went through my settings, every single setting, and refined them, and went through I tried to mess up the camera and break the camera as much as I can with my settings, so that I could learn what each setting does, what all the custom buttons do, what every notch does, every little dial does. I really went through my camera as much as possible to make sure that I learned it as well as I possibly can. It literally changed the way I shoot, and now I'm able to shoot stills and video on the same shoot, just myself. And it's absolutely amazing. I will again talk about that in the next part two of this webinar. I will talk about all of these stills and video, how I shoot that all together. But yes, really put some time in and look through your Sony camera. If you go to my YouTube channel, actually, I've just done a YouTube video on how to customize your Sony camera like a pro. It's what I've done, and go through to my YouTube channel. Just type in Matt Masson on YouTube, and you'll find it. There's a really long video. It's about a 9-minute video where I'll walk you through exactly how I've set up my camera. So give that a go. I promise you it'll help you out. Lee says, I'm a traditional Canon user and I've moved over to Sony a7R III, ordered one, so I'm waiting for lockdown to end so I can take charge of my new baby. I love that. Good work, Lee. Great option. Make sure you watch that video I posted on YouTube. And if you have any issues with your camera, DM me. I'll be happy to help you out and just give you some tips and tricks. Why not? Anna-Ree says to me, if I decide to separate my brand, do I basically build up new followers for a new page? Would you recommend brand separation in smaller towns? Does amount of followers on social media equal bookings? And is boosting posts a waste of money? There's a lot to that question, so I'm going to answer it in pieces. If I decide to separate my brand, do I basically build new followers for the new page? Yes. It would be a new page, and you would need to build followers for that specific page. Then I'm going to answer your second question. Does amount of followers on social media equal bookings? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are people with 300, 400 followers but are crushing it in their business, and they're doing really, really well. The amount of followers you have does not equal the amount of work that you get at all. I've personally found that boosting posts is a bit of a waste of money, unless you're boosting a post that is, very, very high performing. If it's a really interesting image, or if it's a video that you've created as an advert, that's exciting and interesting, then it might be very worthwhile. So try and be very careful with that. Otherwise, you will waste your money. And would you recommend this? So there's 4 questions that Anne-Marie has asked here. Would you recommend brand separation in smaller towns? I actually would. I would recommend brand separation in smaller towns because it doesn't change consumer behavior. A bride is still going to want a photographer who is so good at weddings, who just shoots weddings. It can even form part of your marketing strategy. You can say to your brides, we only shoot weddings with this business because we really, really want to make sure we do the best possible job for your weddings. And then if you have a corporate business, a portrait business, you can contact businesses in your area and offer them shoots, and they'll be more willing to work with you because they aren't going to be photographed by a wedding photographer. So I would recommend brand separation in smaller towns as well. Benedict has asked, what is the best way you'd recommend one can package for wedding post-production? So Benedict, I'm going to actually address all of that in part 3 of this webinar. I'm not going to answer it right now, but please rejoin me at part 3. I promise you, you will learn a lot then. And I'm going to focus on post-production and packaging then. So please do join me for there. It's going to be very, very long-winded and very intense, and I promise you, you will enjoy it. Alex has said, thank you very much for answering your question. Thanks, Alex. There we go. T-Bose has asked a question here. Earlier you spoke about being friendly. How do you make sure that you do that without being a pushover and taking advantage of your friendliness? Very good question. So good that I'm actually going to add it into the slideshow as one of the issues that we have to deal with. You need to be confident in yourself. That's hugely important. I feel like that needs to be, really doesn't need to be even said. But being friendly and being confident, those two things can go very well hand in hand. If you're being friendly with, I'm assuming you're being friendly on the day with a couple, you can say to them, this is something that I do with every single client, every single potential client. You need to focus your conversation on showing the client how much you care about them. Okay? So let's say we're doing family photos now, and mom is saying, please can you take 5 more photos after the family photos, and you know that you've run over time, T-Bose. You've run over time now, and you need to say to the mom of the bride, look mom, we actually can't do that for you right now. You need to think about how you can say that in the best possible way without making yourself feel like an idiot, making you look like a horrible person. You need to say, hey mom, look, I would love to take these photos for you now. I'd love to take these extra 5 photos, but we're looking at the time and I can see the sun dropping behind the horizon. We're really, within the next 30 minutes, I'm really quite worried we're not going to have enough light for the creative photos. So I want to make sure that we get these shots for you, but we're going to do them later on in the reception. Is that okay with you? Please, can we just make that happen? And we really want to make sure we get the best photos for the couple. Are you fine with that? And I promise you 80% of the time, I promise you she will say yes. She'll say that's not a problem. So being friendly doesn't mean being a pushover. It just means phrasing your questions in a way that shows the person you're talking to that you care about them. Try and think about that as much as you possibly can when you're shooting. There we go. Awesome. Haley asks, how do you break into the wedding photography market if you are a newbie? I think I answered this earlier, but make sure that you do something differently. find a gap in the market, contact wedding planners, contact wedding venues, go out of the way. Literally, Haley, rewatch this entire webinar. I promise you, you will rewatch it and listen to everything I've said. I promise you, you will be able to get through into the market you're in. Raveth Chetty says, you sound like an awesome human. Thank you, Raveth. Please follow me on Instagram and follow Sony Alpha SA on Instagram. And let me know if you have any questions or queries then as well. Chantal asked, do you know of any newborn photographers that use Sony? I'm worried about the colors. I know not wedding related, but I shoot newborns and weddings. Thank you in advance, Chantal. To answer your question, if you're shooting stills and you're a professional, you're most of the time shooting RAW, so I'm not too sure what the issue with color is there. You literally change any colors you want and literally fix anything, any issues you might possibly have. With that being said, the video you're watching right now is using my Sony camera. There's no adjustment at all. The white balance is just set to 5600, and I don't know about you, but this video looks really good right now. And this is video. This is not RAW files, so there's nothing, there's nothing that's being edited here at all. It's just straight out of the camera into the live stream. So, to me, the colors out of a Sony camera look amazing. I actually shoot auto white balance for the most part with all of my stills, and Sony's auto white balance feature is amazing. It is able to find pure white and balance the color to pure white, which is very different to my older camera brands. I'd always get very, very yellow warm images, like overly warm images. You can get a very good baseline with the Sony cameras, and then your presets on top of it will just look perfect. But like I said, I shoot video with all of my Sony cameras, and with the video you don't have a RAW file, and I've never had any issues at all with color with my Sony cameras. I have customized one of my picture profiles on my Sony camera to a Cine 4 profile for video, so I get a slightly different feeling for that profile, but I just use LUTs on top of that, and it works perfectly. Genuinely, I've had brilliant color with Sony cameras, so I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. If you can, try and get a hold of a Sony camera, give it a go, and have some fun with it. I promise you'll freak out when you see how good these cameras are. Right. Musa says, thank you for the valuable information. Had the privilege of attending your workshops in Melville. Yes, that's awesome. I remember you. Thank you for coming through. How many camera bodies do you take to a wedding? And secondly, given the number of images you supply, are you shooting RAW or JPEG? I shoot about 7,000. Okay, I lied. The most images I've shot on a wedding is about 7,000. I shoot between 4,000 and 7,000 images on a wedding. And I shoot all of these in RAW files. I'll shoot about 200 to 300 gigabytes on a wedding day. It's quite a lot of content, quite a lot of footage, and a lot of images. But I would rather make sure that I've got more than too much than too little. It just works much better for me. Bear in mind that when I'm shooting with my Sony cameras, I'm shooting with a mirrorless camera here. So everything I'm seeing is almost exactly the exposure that I'm looking for. It's, there's very little thinking that I have to do on the day. So when I get back, all of my images are exposed pretty much perfectly, and all of them are in focus because of the Sony IAF system and the face detect AF system as well. So everything is pretty much coming into my camera at perfect exposure, so I don't really need to do too much adjustment. I do shoot in RAW though, because I want to make sure that I have that flexibility in terms of creative editing. But yeah, making sure that I have a lot of images is good for me. It doesn't affect my workflow in terms of timing at all. It gives me more option in terms of final delivery. And how many camera bodies do you take to a wedding? This is obviously very important. I take 2 or 3. I typically take three cameras to a wedding. One which my assistant uses, and I have 2 cameras on me. If I'm doing a photo booth as well, I take another camera body. But yeah, usually 2 or 3 cameras. You need to make sure that you have backups on a wedding day. Haley says, joined a bit late, but thanks for that. No problem. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I see we've got no more questions for now. If you have any other questions in the future, please do get in touch. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll chat soon.